Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we're going to take a look at Sam Wilson, the Falcon, the new Captain America, and what about that conflict can we use for our own tabletop role-playing, world-building experiences? Yes. Thank you very much for being here. Grab yourself a snack, maybe get some a pen and paper and write down some notes, or whatever, or just sit back and have fun and make fun of the rest of us. So, guys, thank you very much for being here. Let's talk about the Falcon, Sam Wilson, the new Captain America. There's a new movie coming out for this character as well. Hold on. So, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Thank you very much for being here. Um, I have a number of standees that I use when broadcasting, and I also like to use various things from media and our environment to give us the ability to world build, because that's basically what we do over here in this part of the interwebs. And I thought I would pick out some details about the various standees that I have, and one of them is Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, aka Captain America, coming up in his own movie. And this has blended into the geekdom about handing off the title from one character to another. Now, this happens very often in the comic book industry, but the movie-going industry may not be quite used to this event, except maybe in like remakes and things like that. And that is taking a title character like Captain America, the original Captain America, Steve Rogers, and handing that mantle off to another character. And there can be some, if you take a look at some of the inner workings when it comes to people's interactions with this idea, is that within the world, this is the new character, and it brings to mind, is Captain America and any titled character, is it a person or an actual title or mantle to take over? Now, in the comic book industry, this happens very often, especially if they need to they need to reboot, bring new flavor in, take a tired character or a character that's been sitting on the shelf collecting dust for a very long time. They will take a character and reinvigorate them by bringing on a new flavor. Now, sometimes it's just a matter of blowing off the dust and bringing that character back to life. Other times, so much time has passed, or fictional time has passed, that they go, well, this character used to be in their early 30s or something. Now they're at 80 years old. We need to pass that mantle on to another character. Batman Beyond is an example of this. Batman, who's this elderly dude with a cane and a bad attitude, takes on another young man in a near future environment, and therefore there's a new Batman. Captain America, the exact same way. Now, some characters, they do this far more often than others. So there might be a titular character, it may even be built into the world building, where there is a title, but so many people have taken on that role. You often see this when it comes to origins, where someone is blessed with power or picks up a magical device or item or something like that. But in recent I want to say creative developments by the corporations, many times now we have characters who are passed off for marketing reasons, right? There's a reason why you want to reboot this character, and it's not just because we think a character is cool, it's because for marketing reasons. So the argument becomes, is Captain America's title being passed off to another character. What within the game world, within the fictional world, is this a title or is this just a marketing ploy by what some people call like gender swapping or race swapping or something like that? Now, in the comic books, long before the movies were made, this had already happened. And sometimes these things have happened, gone away, happened again, gone away, and then finally the public, your general moving going public or something like that, finally sees it. But this has happened multiple times, not just with this character Sam Wilson, but others. And so I would say that for world building purposes, we're going to take on the idea of creating a setting or circumstances, let's say, where our player characters take on the role of other titular characters. And I think that would be kind of cool to play with that. And then I'm going to circle back to some of the political portion of this and blend that into where the conflict comes from, and get away from sometimes we in the role-playing community and the geekosphere in general, sometimes we want to know the answer already, but the sweet spot is not knowing the answer and playing with the conflict and friction of the culture in terms of accepting the role of another person taking on that particular title. So imagine, if you will, this doesn't have to be fantasy, but this could be anything. There are many job functions that we have in the real world that are literally titles. There isn't a specific person for that title. It's just a title, whether it is commander or lieutenant or military titles, corporate titles, religious titles, and things like that. You could fall back to that, which is perfectly fine. But another way to do this would be picking heroes or nobility, or heck, even like gods and whatnot, saints and spirits, and then having those roles taken over and have the player characters have to represent those roles, especially like in this instance where we have a Sam Wilson doesn't have any superpowers. He just has equipment and has to take on the role of a guy who basically got his super soldier serum and became physical human perfection. And now here's this guy with the same shield, and he's like, I hope I can keep up, and is being constantly tested for that. It would be pretty fun, and I think you could do this. You'd have to have players who understand what what the assignment is. You see that in the interwebs, like, so-and-so, knew what the assignment was, and the players would need to understand that you're taking on the role of whatever those figures are, like mythological heroes or sainthood in this world, or the gods have left and now the player characters have to take on that role, or what have you. And taking on that role, I mean, it could even be far more mundane, like players taking on the roles of protectors or storytellers or something, knowing that there were actions that happened prior to that and being compared to those things. And sometimes the comparison is more harsh than the actual acts of the individual in general. We see this with music groups, right? You have a music group and you have one lead singer amongst like 3 to 5 other people in the background, and the lead singer is so good that all the other members of the group seem to pale in comparison to the lead singer, despite the fact that if the lead singer hadn't been in a group, we would still love the voices and portrayals of the different songs or entertainment or whatever from the background. But unfortunately, they happen to be in the shadow of the person who's better. And I think this really does work. I think it works especially well if the fictional character has some sort of like maybe some sort of history where they are honored. Although conversely, this does actually work for like infamous individuals in history as well, if they were criminals or just everything from rude to having blatant brutality, and then the player characters represent that. Also, belonging to a particular faction. If you don't want the players to represent a specific individual, this could go to a faction. I'm going to pull up the. I'm sorry to pause slightly for this. I don't see any comments popping up, if there are any. So I'm going to pop out the chats for over at YouTube and Twitch to see if I can find out what the heck is going on here. So. Yeah, okay, I figured there was. All right, let me pop the chat out. Yep. Always having streaming issues. Hey, Drew. Hey, everybody. Sorry, now I gotta go over to Twitch and pop that chat out as well. It sounds dirty when it is said than once. Stream chat settings, pop out chat. You move over to here. All right, let's close you guys out. Get these chat windows up. There we go. All right, sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so let me get to some of your comments. Sam Wilson's superpowers, the charisma Anthony Mackie brings to the role. I tend to agree with that, right? As a matter of fact, I would even say, you know, I can put the YouTube's chat up here. There we go. There. That's not too bad. And then let me leave the Twitch one here, right next to it. All right. Sorry about that. But yeah, Drew's like, Sam Wilson's superpowers, the charisma Anthony Mackie brings to the role. And the here, if we want to get a little bit more toward a modern context, the controversies, especially with this new movie coming out, the fourth Captain America movie, and there are some individuals who are resistant to having a new Captain America, not because of the actor, or not because we need a new Captain America. Some people feel that way because some aspect of this role, especially the Captain America character in the comic books, is that he's like anti-American, that this individual doesn't represent America. Now, the funny thing is, in the comic books, when Steve Rogers had the original character, he was also, shall we say, anti-American because he represented the ideals of people. So he didn't represent what America stood for at the time. He represented what the United States could achieve, could go to. He was the titular individual that other people could look up to. And he felt on a personal level, like the way the writing was, that the individuals in power or control or whatever were not upholding to those high standards. And I think Anthony Mackie in a recent interview mentioned that it's not that he's representing what we are today. He's representing what it is in the future. Yeah. Amon says, like, the original was in his core an idealist. Exactly. And there is a Superman Captain America confluence here of fictional characters that represent a perfect ideal of something that, because these characters aren't real. We have to remember that they are fictional, no matter how live action-ish they can become. And so it is an idea for other people to strive to. And so that's what the writers did. But, blending it into a current day thing, you blend those ideals with, ethnicity. And then some people were just like, he's not my Captain America, fold arms, pout, that kind of thing. So, yeah. You find it telling that when a white dude is replaced by a white dude, nobody complains. But if the replacement is a woman or black, then there's much outcry. Exactly. And that in a way that's like a reflection of the individual more than a complaint about the situation, right? It's unfortunately though in our um, social media that you're going to get a lot of people to agree with you no matter what the it wouldn't matter your opinion, you're going to get people agree with you. Mm-mm-mm. Just had a mad Facebook discussion of how ludicrous superhero movies are. Yeah, I mean they're fictional, they're fictionalizations, right? Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, and yeah, with the trailer yesterday for Fantastic Four, which I just saw film in summer. I have to say I feel a little difficult to focus on Captain America. Exactly, it's fair. And the Fantastic Four, being the first family in many ways, that's technically not true. But I guess one of the most popular first families in superhero-dom, it is taking a lot of it's taking a lot of the shine out of this new Captain America movie that's coming sooner. It's actually next week or something. Yeah, have never been excited before for Fantastic Four film, but that looks so good. Yeah, it's more of a family drama, right? I guess we could do. I don't have a standee for any member of the Fantastic Four, but I don't know. Yeah. Amon says both characters are moral paragons. I often found it interesting how some found the two characters boring. Superman and Captain America are important for their setting as a moral guideline for the other heroes in their respective world. Yeah, if I could make a bit of an armchair analogy, I often look at it as like, let me see if I can share this out. I often look at it like a fluid versus concrete, like water versus concrete. And some stories are about a harsh world, harsh concrete world, and we get to see the fluidity of that character. And when I say the fluidity, I mean they are having a moral conundrum about what their actions are going to be. So we get to see them vacillate. We get to see them move, whether they grow, whether they shrink back, things like that. And that's where we see character growth, right? The opposite to that is a fluid world with a concrete character. And that is when a character's moral standard or values or whatever doesn't really change. We don't really see that much growth from like Sam Wilson or Superman, Clark Kent, or Steve Rogers. There's not much change in them, but what we do see is the outside world changing and them remaining steadfast. And then those are other stories. And I think the Black Panther movie kind of plays into that as well, where we have we have Black Panther, our king, and then around Black Panther we have fluid ideas about what the title of Black Panther represents and things like that. So I think they, you could tell both tons of stories. Because without them, some characters might not have the inspiration to be better because they saw someone who tried. There's a storyline in I believe it's in a DC Comics. Yes, Superman takes a day off and all the other superheroes step up to take his place, and they become paragons of ideals because they know Superman would do this thing, so then therefore I should do this thing. And it goes to show, like, when Superman steps away, the world doesn't fall down. Actually, everyone steps up, and it's kind of a cool idea. Drew says you can super soldier martial artists as superheroes far more plausible than quasi-magical powers, but are bulletproof. Yeah, and right. if Drew, if I see what you're saying here, it's like, yeah, you can always pretend that you have one Sue, and you mean like a Mary Sue. That's always a thing, right? In comic books and superheroes, and people talking about like Mary Sue characters and whatnot. Wait, did that just move on my shrink or grow on my screen? It did. Okay. I often don't do this with this idea. Okay, so world building. Falcon as Captain America. So of course, in the social context, we can always talk about how the current player characters are holding up to the ideals of the title that came before it. And there can be many different types of context, especially socially, involved in this. How well respected were the individuals that held those titles before the character takes over? Was it a title at all? Meaning, like, the whole comic book concept of, say, Thor fits into this context where whosoever can pick up the hammer, Thor gets Thor's powers. I butchered the saying, but you get the point, right? Hey, whosoever worthy picks up the hammer gets the power of Thor. So there have been many characters, individuals that have taken over Thor's mantle. Well, if it's the same thing for portraying like demigods or nobility or something of that nature, then some people may question the veracity, the validity of the individual who takes over that role. Or it could be the opposite. It could be, if the players are granted this role, this new role, then how does the public feel about that? Like, there could be lots of jealousies and backstabbing, and there's no way this person could wield the golden sword of the celestial justice or something like that. How the hell did they take that part? There's always there must be something wrong with the system, rather than people embracing their own inequities, right? We get to see that in and I was a slight victim of this when it comes to, say, the United States affirmative action. When I went to Lafayette College, we had a professor that would grade on a curve. And while I was in class, I remember for whatever reason, it was in some science class or something, and I threw the curve off by having a very high score above everyone else. And I remember, it turned out okay, but I remember being in class, and when the professor put out the scores and I threw the curve off, one dude was just like, well, you only got a high curve because you got the affirmative action bonus or something, like some bullshit like that, right? And other people were just like, dude, that's not cool. And he kind of stuck his ground. It was like, F you, blah, blah, blah. Later on, he apologized. But there's this like, well, you're in that position, but it couldn't be because of your merits. Maybe it's because of something else. And we are seeing that kind of conversation happen external to the movie, and maybe, hopefully, the movie will talk about it internally. Probably not. I mean, it is an MCU movie, and but internally, it's like, within the context of the world, will people say, well, the only reason that Sam Wilson is the Falcon is Captain America is because of his ethnicity, or is it because he was the number 2 guy, always, holding up, being the great wingman, literally and figuratively, for Steve Rogers this entire time, right? And now some people can make the argument that the Winter Soldier should be the next Captain America, which in the comic books has kind of happened, and as well as U.S. agent something Walker, I can't remember his first name, was a Captain America at one time as well. And of course, Winter Soldier was an assassin and killed people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's those are big boots to fill for him. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, yeah, Bucky taking on the role. Now, some people would say about the superpowers, right? Which brings us to the charismatic level that we hope Anthony Mackie will. And he's from what I understand, a classically trained actor. And what would be amazing in the movie, of course I haven't seen the movie. Yeah. Do y'all suspend disbelief by just considering superhero movies to be comedies? I don't do that. They're just storytelling. I look at them more like classic Greek Roman myths of gods and deities and things like that. I kind of look at it like that. Like to me, they fall into the same categories, that they are bigger than life, and they're designed to be big and boisterous, to tell like a moral to try to tell a moral conundrum with a lot of shiny parts of it. Yeah, Bucky Barnes might be mentally too scared to take that role even when offered. The character went through much, absolutely. And also perception of the public, right? Who is this guy? Maybe the vast majority of the public doesn't even know who he is, being a secret agent hiding in the shadows. And the people who do know who he is are like, didn't he have a big public fight in the streets for the explosives trying to kill our beloved Steve Rogers? Our beloved golden child, Steve Rogers, with a knife and all that kind of stuff. It was revealed that kind of thing. But yeah, taking on, and then also sometimes there's I think the erroneous idea of leadership, where some people would say, well, the most powerful character should be the leader. There's no way Sam Wilson can be Captain America because he's not powerful enough. And it's like, well, leadership isn't based on superpowers. Leadership is based on capability and their tactics and leadership skill and being able to place people, the skill of placing people in the best role for their best outcomes. That's basically what leadership is. It's not really about superpowers, Amon says also his backstory might not be the best to take the mantle during his brainwashing. Exactly, right? Yeah, he sounds more like a good supportive character as a personality, but not the best leader. I definitely agree. He's also not very talkative. I mean, we get to see the character from the outside, but as they portray the Winter Soldier, it's like he's kind of like a dark and brooding. He's the emo dude in the background. Kind of funny. But there are some responsibilities someone who takes the mantle would have to represent. To be a leader, you need to have a particular skill set to work with people. Exactly. That's why so many very capable sports figures aren't very good, don't have the ability to pass on their singular skill onto other people and be coaches, let's say. There are some people who are very good at a thing and they just aren't able to show other people how to do that thing. And teaching and leading is a particular skill set, and I don't believe it has anything to do with I'm Superman or I have the ability to blast with my eye beams and blast holes in walls and things like that. Drew says, talking about leadership and charisma as well, I still stand by the idea to use charisma for initiative in D&D. There is Knave 2nd edition uses charisma for initiative in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. And I think there's some other games that use the most appropriate stat for initiative. And the reasoning behind, I know that this can be a little bit strange for people who are used to Dungeons and Dragons and go, charisma? Why charisma? And the reasoning for the charisma being for initiative is the individual who, by personality, leads the group, sets the tone and pace and action or reaction for the group. So many times, and imagine you're watching a military movie or something, and a lot of times the character who wants to get in the thick of things, right? The one character that's like, I want to murder kill something, I want to run and gun, often looks to the great leader, hey coach, take me off the bench, let me, let me go. And that's why when we see the in the first Avengers movie where Captain America's like, you do this, hey, you do this, you do that, and the Hulk is like, and he's like, Hulk, smash, and then Hulk goes off. Hulk didn't do it yet. He waited for an instruction to go off. So that's where the charisma comes from, where it's like, hey boss, put me in. Leader goes, dude, do your thing. And then that character's like, crack the knuckles and stuff like that, doing the cocking the gun, and it's like, yeah, now I get to go, beat ass and whatnot, and things like that. Amon says, I know a teacher whose instruction was do what I do with no explanation given why. Yeah, and that's also, this idea about like, uh, what is it? Do as I say, not as I do, kind of concepts. We have many bosses in various jobs that we've had that where you just look at them and you just shake your head, like as a worker, you just shake your head like, really, like you do realize that you are literally representing everything that is not for this thing that you claim is necessary to do. It's like the boss that folds their arms and doesn't want to pick up the mop, but they're always screaming at you to get the work done, and you do it. There's whole Reddit lines that are about like the worst bosses in the world. The bosses that leave the job, go home, and then contact the workplace to make sure everybody stayed there till like the last minute and whatnot. Yeah, that's very much it. Now, there are a couple of ways I think players can come about this, right? For example, sometimes the players are voluntold to do a thing. Like the characters are the most capable individuals in the city, tribe, community, or whatever, and there literally are no other people to step forward. They're all 0 level humans. You guys are 3rd level, so vicariously you step up into that role. So the players are like, I guess we have to, right? It's like, well, everyone stepped backwards, you stayed still, so you're the next one. Now, there may be other things where the players specifically want to take on the role. Hey, we don't have a fill in the blank title, right? We don't have a king, we don't have a storyteller, we don't have a hunter, we don't have these roles fulfilled, so someone has to take on that mantle. And you can have a physical representation of that, right? Drawing the sword from the stone, wearing a cloak, painting of the face, tattooed, wearing the helmet. I don't know. The physical representation of taking on that role. We see this so often in the country western movies of the settling of the United States, where you have like the bounty hunter that takes over the role of the sheriff or the U.S. Marshal. There's a recent television show called Banshee. Guy gets out of jail, and then through a series of contrived events, our main character in the show, Banshee, takes on comes into a city that doesn't have a sheriff, or I guess the sheriff was killed by the local criminal factions, and our guy from prison becomes the new sheriff, who of course is a criminal and doesn't follow the rules, and things like that. Drew says, my reasoning is more that initiative is seized and charisma is an indicator for force of personality. I agree with that too, right? Like sometimes it's not physical speed, but it is force of personality and being able to sense. It's a combination of your force of personality taking the initiative, boom, boom, and feeling what's happening from the other side, almost like not only just perceiving the human perception of what the other side plans on doing, but also manipulating factors through social interaction to most benefit yourself. Like for example, when I was taking up my martial arts self-defense classes, one of the things was always acting. You never act on a beat. So you never count to 3. You never act on the period of a sentence, right? So sometimes in self-defense, what you want to do is when you're having a conversation, even in a very dangerous thing, hey, give me your money, get in your car, give me all your things. And then you hold your hands up and act in the middle of a sentence. Okay, I'll move. I'll do whatever you tell me to, but you don't do it at the end of a sentence, right? Because the end of a sentence is a pause. You do it in the middle of talking. and then act off the beat. It's a little hard to describe that now that I'm thinking about it verbally, but it's just like it's it's knowing that, like, maybe you're having a discussion with someone and you realize that this person is not going to be moved, like, emotionally or intellectually. The next word spoken in the next 3 seconds is going to get them to, like, launch off, right? So your charisma is like, yeah, these negotiations have already broken down. So then you get to act first because they're gonna pop off, right? It's the bully syndrome, right? It's like talking to a bully and then the bully just isn't going to act, and you kind of want to do an internal eye roll, like, yeah, talking to the bully intellectually is just not working. Amon says, I found in Mutants and Masterminds a trade that allows someone to take over initiative with a limited resource. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And that also is a thing, right, in a gamist kind of concept where characters can switch initiatives, change initiative around. There's some old Grognardian initiative types. That's a whole, like, gamist thing. But there's all kinds of initiative types that I think would rub people absolutely the wrong way. Like personally, and here's something that I know would be completely unpopular. I think players have too many options when it comes to initiative. If you have 4 players and each of them takes 3 actions, then you got to wait, and then the next person takes 3 actions. Personally, I think everybody should just take 1 action out of the 3 and then round table it. So instead of, like, moving, attack, and then another attack, it should be like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to move. All right. Next person, what are you going to do? Prepare my spell. Okay, what are you going to do? Drink a potion. Okay, what are you going to do? And then keep going around. But that's just me. It would be faster and everybody would hate it. Drew mentions the Amazon Prime series Reacher. Yeah. Reacher showed what DJ is speaking about, with Reacher attacking before finishing his sentence more than once throughout. Exactly. Like, don't you remember the times where he would say on a count of 3 and he would never act on 3? I'm gonna give you 3 seconds. 1, boom, boom, boom. Right? It's you never act on the you never act on the beat. It's a simple but learned skill when performing self-defense. It's the idea of, like, hey, hand me your purse or hand me your watch or something like that, and you act on the instruction because the person is expecting you to hand them a wallet or hand them a watch or hand over your keys, and then that's when you take physical action: run away, attack, knock them down, push them over, try to grab the weapon, blah, 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 right? You act on that because it's offbeat, because there's an expectation of what's going to happen. But if you act on the period, there's a verbal pause between all of our commas and semicolons, things like that. And so there's an expectation that if you finish a sentence, we are now awaiting the next sentence spoken or the next action spoken. But if you act off, yeah, Reacher does that a lot. He's like, I'm going to count to 3. 1, bam, Now, going back to our titular characters, one way is that the characters are taking over the role of what we would damn near say are perfection incarnate, and we don't need to have that. Although it would unless you have really good players, it would rub them the wrong way. Another way would be for players to take over who are basically like assholes, the worst type, and taking over those roles and making that role better. Especially if you have the local community around the player characters having a predetermined expectation of a person in that title, and then the players going, the friction would be, instead of the players arriving and they start from 0, when the players arrive, they don't start from 0, they actually start from what happened before to now. So when the players arrive and they need the help of the local populace, and the population is like, oh, I know you're gonna murder kill us all. We're not gonna give you anything. And the players are like, no, we just want to be nice. And, and then having it thrown back in their face and basically have to fight uphill. Yep. Nameless Spook says, yeah, Taken did a good job with breaking the beat of an action as well. Yep, Taken did that. I think in the television show, now it left my mind. Oh well. Had a mental fart. Amon says, a detail my android might not do because he doesn't see the reason for lying. Oh, yeah. yeah, because a human being can very easily lie about what they intend on doing and when they intend on doing it. So if the players take on the mantle of something, or when they take on that mantle, first there's the expectation of what's going to happen, but there could be some written notations. I mean, when we look at knights and samurai in a cinematic sense, right? Not necessarily historical, but in the cinematic sense, there is an expectation of their behavior and whatnot. And, in crime dramas, there's an expectation of the detectives and police officers versus the criminals. Many times the criminals use that to their event. You're not going to do this. Hey, arrest me. You're not going to murder, kill me in this dark alley or in this warehouse or something like that. Yeah, why should I lie? They can't harm me anyway. I hear you, Ava. Yep. Machines are like, hey, I don't have to lie, or I won't lie. And there's this idea that, if the title makes you, if there's an expectation of your behavior in the title, do you live up to that title? Like, do you internalize that? Or is it just a bunch of rules on the outside and the players just ignore it? And then how does that work in the world, right? There's only so many times, hey, Haliopia. I know that's not how I pronounce it. How many times can one break the rules of the title or taking over that role before people start to question it, right? It's, I've seen there's some YouTube videos about, what was it? John Walker, I think it was John Walker, that temporarily took over the Captain America title. And there's some that are like, wait a minute, John Walker was right. From his point of view and from the outside, John Walker was right. And in murder killing a terrorist on the streets with Captain America's shield. Now, mind you, there was the visualization of it, right? Blood on Captain America's shield and how terrible that was. Oh, please call me Hoy. Okay. Then too late, already did it. This is sadly at work, so I've got only half my attention. Well, half your attention is 50% more attention than anybody else, so we appreciate you being here. Yeah. The Punisher was at one point Captain America. There's so many different characters that have taken on that role, which I do find pretty ironic that there are some people who have a problem with Anthony Mackie taking over the role. But if you're not, if you're someone who's not into the portrayal of these characters, and if you're not into the portrayal of these characters and what their role is in the greater comic book world, and you're just interested in the movies, you would never know that. Yeah. Jice is so funny. What is attention, and can you eat it? You can eat it. Well, yeah, there are ways to eat the attention. Let me see if I can shrink this down just slightly. It is not letting me do that. Wow. 3, 2, 1. Come on. Oh, I guess I can't make it any smaller. I think there's some other storylines where you can absolutely, positively have individuals who should have had that title, who are jealous of the player characters. Those are easy NPC portions. Heck, the entire beginning of the Game of Thrones televised version was about a king that died and how many other people were like, I should be on the top, I should have the title of the king and take over the throne, and my house should rise up and whatnot. That's a very easy one. But then there's also personal jealousies, right? There are there are other characters in the players' backgrounds who may feel that through age or through exploits should have taken over that titular role. The very popular award-winning movie Gladiator is an example of this, how the gladiator was thrown, Aurelius Maximus, whatever his name was, gets thrown into the gladiator pit. Why? Because, the one dad is like, my son is an idiot, you should take over. And yeah, sometimes you gotta throw people into the gladiatorial pit in arenas and enslave them because, you get passed over. And that's very much a thing as well. Hoy says, at this point, Captain America as role is more about being a symbol than a hero. Yeah, and could you make the case that, well, should someone actually take on that role? Now, remember, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America, Steve Rogers never called himself Captain America. That was a title that was created by the military to raise money for war bonds. If we really go back technically, right? So it technically is a title. It just so happened to be an individual taking over that role. The same thing is going to happen when we have a new Wolverine in the cinematic universe. When there's a new Wolverine, there are going to be a bunch of people that are like, Hugh Jackman will always be my Wolverine. This other person sucks. And is it like, do they really suck, or is it just that an individual took over that role for such a long time that they've embodied it to the point where we can't expect anyone else to be there? Same thing with many actors that take over a role, Robert Downey Jr. and of course Chris Evans playing the Captain America role. It's very difficult for us to see someone else play that role, despite the fact that actors are individuals whose literal job is to take on the role of other people. Yeah, Amos says an interesting character also could be a side character who knows he had the ability to get the title, but finds it more worth their efforts to train the new inheritor to be worth it. Yeah, to train the new inheritor. That's also a thing. Could player characters step down? I did run a White Wolf World of Darkness game in it was the Dark Ages, Vampire the Dark Ages. Well, it was Dark Ages in general. And so one player played a human being, like a human prince, and all the other players played other characters in the wider World of Darkness. Like, I want to play a werewolf, but I'm a jackal. And this was an Egyptian-ish themed thing. They were cast out into the desert and they had to come back and regain the throne. And all the other players played supporting characters, except the supporting characters were more powerful than our main prince, who had to take back the throne. But it was fun for players to play, like, I want to play the mentor, I want to play the assassin, I want to play the sage, I want to play, like, they all played supporting characters. And so it was fun. It was like it was supposed to be a one shot. I think it went 3 to 5 sessions. I can't remember. Yeah, but I am not a friend of killing player characters when they are retired. Sometimes they are useful for the world. Yeah, you know what? Characters don't need to die to be retired. That's what retiring is. The character just goes off and retires. Yeah, Drew says, hope the next Wolverine will be played by someone shorter and much more hairier. I want a comic accurate Wolverine. Hugh Jackman was not bad, but he never felt right to me. Well, they made fun of that with a Danny DeVito sized Wolverine in Deadpool Wolverine of a comic book accurate type of person, and that kind of made fun of it. I think the only issue with it was like Wolverine is supposed to be like stocky, so his muscle mass is a bit wider. So it's not just that he's just short. He's actually, it's almost like he's a 6 foot person squat down to like 4.5 feet tall or something. He's not literally 3 feet. I think he's more like 4.5, maybe 5 at the most. But yeah. Steve Rogers retired to go dancing. If that's a euphemism for like then yes. Hey, he put in his work, right? He knew what the assignment was. He did it. He was done. Yeah, the name was Spooky. Yeah, the one shot is never the one. The one shot is never a one shot. It's always like the one shot's like, hey, let's do this temporary thing, and everybody gets caught up in it. Maybe there's like a subconscious psychological thing where everyone's like, yeah, there's no expectation of this going further, and then people have fun in it, and the one shot goes on. Whereas if you say this is going to be exactly 12 sessions, and everyone like rolls their eyes, even though the one shot could go 12 sessions. I don't know if there's a correlation between that or not. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tolerating my tolerating the tangency of this show. Yeah, older comics drew beefy characters short to make them look buffier. Old school thing looked super short. Yep. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And it really doesn't matter. I didn't mind the fact. I get it. I like Hugh Jackman as an actor. So to me, I like the portrayal more than the like physical accuracy of it. But I think there's probably a bunch of people out there who are probably pretty good at doing that thing. It's so weird how like no matter what I do or pick for this channel, there's always some issue. Like my moving background disappeared. Not one thing leads to another. So guys, thank you very much for letting me show off. Yes, we are at the end of this, of showing off my standees and being inspired by it. But I do like the idea of players taking over a role and coloring your world accordingly to the role that the player characters now take over. We saw this in the science fiction. I'm gonna define something science fiction. Science fiction show The Expanse, right? Where our crew of The Expanse takes over the starship, the Rocinante, which the Rocinante was a Martian ship. And so people presume them to be Martian until told otherwise. And then through their actions, their reputation started growing about different things. And so having a reputation in the world is always a great thing to play with. And then it gives the player something to strive against, to like push up against, whether that reputation is one where everyone thinks that the prior individuals were better than the player characters, or were worse than, or don't live up to their expectations. I mean, hell, in modern parlance, political appointees are basically in that same category, right? Where we have individuals who, don't match up to the perceived past tense person in that same position. We're like, hey, we've had 20 different politicians in this position. What makes you any different? And then, of course, the person has to work against that role, even though everyone has the expectation, yeah, we know what this person's going to be like, because we already have an example of what this individual will do, or what they'll do in the future. Yeah, I found in general the concept of a retired villain is now a supportive character for heroes. That's actually really fun too, right? Villains who are like, you know what? I'm gonna put up the mask and the cape. I'm done with this. The villain that mentors the hero, like, hey, when I was a villain, this is how I would get away with stuff. Here's something you should do, or even comparisons, right? Like, only villains do this thing because I did that when I was a villain. don't be that way as a hero or something like that. That's always fun as well. That's really cool. Hell, even the villain that tries to take on the role of a hero and tries to reset themselves, like I don't want to be the villain any longer. Magneto and Rogue have kind of fallen into those categories because they both started off as like your proverbial stereotypical villains, and then they're like the rehabilitated ones. Comic books do that a lot with the villains, especially Marvel. There are a lot of villains that became heroes and kind of remain that way. Tomorrow you pretend you have Sue Storm and her invisibility as a standee. So we can talk about Fantastic Four, or you can set one on fire, but that is Johnny Storm. Oh shit. Yeah. Oh, that would be so funny. I've thought about not setting one of my standees on fire. But I have thought about like having something like that, because for those who don't know, the Fantastic Four represent the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. So Ben Grimm, the Thing, is earth. Mr. Fantastic with his stretching is water. Sue Storm is air with being invisible in her force fields, and Johnny Storm is fire. Now, mind you, some of it is a little bit stereotypical. So, but yeah, and listen, that trailer is spot on. I like it. I like it a lot. I love the 60s space race style of filming that they did. It looks great. It looks like they have like the clothing and the way people are talking and stuff. I love it. That 60s, 50s, 60s look. Yeah, I love it a lot. The car that was driving down the street. It's great. You know what? Yeah, we'll talk about Fantastic Four tomorrow. Yeah, but hey, here's my invisible standee, guys, and everyone who tunes into the channel is like, what the hell is he talking about? but no, I'll just find an image and we'll throw it up here. Let's see if we can find some like let's see if we can get some like really good Fantastic Four imagery up here. I'll probably find one and steal it somewhere, and then there's Screen Rant. Pretty good. Something like that. Fantastic Four stick. But like, here's just some examples, right? You know what I mean? So kind of fun, kind of cool. And Fantastic Four is a pretty good. Shit, I forgot about the chat. My chat's disappeared. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for stopping by, just hanging out, and have these really cool conversations, things like that. I love the Thing's look. I love it, especially the eyebrow. Like they've really they shrunk them down slightly from the overly broad comic book version of it, but I still like it, and I bet they're going to do a lot of eyebrow emotional context with it, with the eye, I think it's going to be fun because they do that with the Deadpool Spider-Man eyes as well, by having the eyes move to get that emotional context. And I think they're going to really do that. They can really do that with the Thing's eyebrow, because he can get like the shadows in the eyebrow to make him sad and make him look funny and angry and whatnot. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Expensive CGI, anybody? But yeah. I'm sorry, the movie look. Not exactly sure what that means. But glad to have you over here, Universe Man. Do you have a rock laying around? Yeah, I could have a rock, and actually, I could set a fire. There's an old. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna step away and come right back. I'm gonna do this real quick to see if I can do it. Before we get out of here, there's an old movie trick to set your scenes on fire. And it's putting let me see if I can do this and see if it works. So this is a flame, and of course I did not set it off. Actually, I have the flame moving in front of the camera, But yeah, there's a way to do, because I could actually set a candle or something like that. You put up a flaming bar in front of the camera, and it looks like your set is on fire. Uh, yeah, it's a new thing. So I guess I could do earth, air, fire, and water. Now the air part, I don't know. I can't make. I would love to have like dry ice or something like that, but whatever. Tangent and Sia, fine work on this Vice Friday. Yeah. Did I say that? I just pull shit out of my ass sometimes. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being here. There is a what's going around in the gamosphere. Orcs being people is one, but there's another one that's actually kind of fun and kind of cool, if a little bit geeky, and that's the role-playing games. The medium of role-playing games is conversation, and that's become a thing that's happening now in the gamosphere in our own side. So yeah. They did Sam wrong. Oh, you turn a fan on. yeah, that's right. I could turn a fan on and have it blowing in the background. You tie those little ribbons to the front of the fan so you can kind of tell that it's on. Yeah, maybe I will. A little complicated, but I can get away with it. I got a little table fan. Oh shit, yeah. Where's H2O man when you need him? Yeah, but please have some emergency water when using fire. Yeah, especially especially if I'm going to set a fire next to the camera, right? Camera goes out. Why did my stream end? Yeah, but that is a thing. Setting a fire bar in front of the camera and letting the heat of the flames in front of the camera make it look like the background is on fire, but that's actually not what's happening. Yeah, that's really fun. Yeah, turn the oven on. I don't know. But I'll try to come up with something unique. You guys are challenging me, so I'm going to take on the mantle. Hint, hint, hint. Of the Fantastic Four in a live stream and see what I know you guys are going to tune in for the car wreck that's going to happen, but we'll see. Probably what I'll just do is I'll light a candle. I need a fan. I need I do have a rock of some sort. I don't know. We'll find out. We've got something. I'm sure I got a rock or a gemstone hanging around somewhere, because geeky people always have something like that. I wish I had a moon rock, an actual moon rock, but I don't. Always can find a rock out on my route. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being here, and have a great Thursday. So have or whatever day you're watching this. I want to. There's something that I haven't done. And I'm pissed off a little bit at YouTube for doing this to me, that my YouTube studio normally alerts me when people respond in the comments section for the videos, and they haven't been doing that. So I want to take the time to spotlight comments for people who can't be live and respond to some of the comments and things like that, criticisms and whatnot. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you hate it, but just respond. That's kind of cool. So I like to respond to that, because some of my comments, I don't find them until like 3 or 4 days later, mainly because I don't check it all the time, because I'm waiting for the notifications and they don't come through. So you guys let me know what's the best way to do it. Should I do it at the top of the show? Should I do it in the middle? Should I just do it like, hey, every Wednesday, I'm just going to compile all the comments together and do that? I had thought about doing that as a summary for Discord, but even that takes Discord threads kind of can go on for a while. I don't know. You guys let me know, because I benefit from doing this show more than you think. More than I think you guys do. So you let me do that. So anyway, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. My producer is telling me the show has to come to an end, if you can hear her in the background. Yeah, I would like it more. I would like it more when no harm comes to someone. Yeah, nothing like that. Nothing at all. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye. Peace and tranquility.